Today we thought we would do a boat tour of Andante. She is a 1989 Southerly 100 lifting keel boat, so we specifically went for a boat like this so that we could go places where the tide goes out and we could just sit there on the sand like you will have seen in our last video. So let us show you around. As you can see, we've got a Delta anchor on the bow. We've also got a original Bruce. I believe the boats probably would have come from the yard with a Bruce anchor. It fits a bit better on the bow. We have used this in anger. We weathered quite a lot of bad weather up in sort of Milford Haven. The chain that came with the boat was in pretty poor shape when we bought it. In fact, you wouldn't have been able to use it at all. So this year we went for 40 meters of 8mm grade 40 chain. Ideally we wanted a bit more just to give us unlimited cruising ability. The local chandlery had a deal on, so we managed to get the 40 meters for a really good price. And because we're a lifting keel boat, we can actually, instead of having to anchor out in deep water, we can go into harbour, sit on the bottom and then find safety that way. So we thought 40 meters is a pretty good compromise, and it has seen us through some pretty poor weather. That runs back to a LaFrance Royal Windlass. If I'm being honest, we were really excited when we bought the boat to have a windlass. How amazing. Haven't actually used it, just pulled the chain up by hand. There's a handle that goes in here. The action is quite slow. You'd only really use it if you had the anchor stuck on something or difficulty breaking it out of the bottom. Coming into autumn now, actually taken the genoa off. We have a really nice furlex mechanism here. Nothing much to say about that apart from it works really well. When we first bought the boat, there was a lot of water coming in around this hatch, and the previous owner had sealed up with silicone and everything like that, and I thought, oh god, I'm going to have to take it out of the boat completely. On further investigation, after taking the hinges off, turns out somebody had drilled a hole through from the underside to put a screw in, and that was the source of the water. There was no sealant in it. So we sealed that up and the hatch hasn't leaked since. We have a big enough foredeck to host a tea party. Unfortunately, we have this baby stay here, which can't really do anything about. We can't actually stow the dinghy on deck. So our options are to tow it or to deflate it and put it away. Perhaps we're going to be thinking about some davits or something later in the year. Our mast and boom and roller furling mechanism are made by Kemp. I believe that the roller furling mechanism possibly was added after the original manufacture of the boat. When we bought the boat, pulling the sail out proved to be a real challenge. Furling not so difficult, so we've replaced a lot of the lines. The biggest improvement was the furling line. So much like you would have for the furlex mechanism for the genoa, you have a line here, you yank on it, and if the sail's pulled out, it will pull the sail in. The original line was quite chunky, about 10mm. It was also very stiff where it'd been in the weather. So I replaced it with an 8mm line, and that made all of the difference. Now it works perfectly. We can pull it out all of the way, put it back again in one go, no trouble at all there. When we bought the boat, we discovered our topping lift, which is now being replaced, was actually completely covered in lichen and actually nearly unbendable. That came down, made a hell of a mess on the deck. Got to replace that with a piece of 10mm Marlow. The spray hood is a bit odd. It's sort of like cut down half spray hood. We can't actually see through it when we're going along, so we tend to let it down. Believe really it's only here because when we bought the boat it came with a really nicely made instrument binnacle that this would have protected. Unfortunately, all of the instruments were completely defunct and obsolete, so instead of trying to replace them at great expense, we've decided to get our data another way and take the instrument cluster away, and now actually we have pretty good visibility forward if we're steering from the cockpit. Here I am at the wheel. It's quite a large wheel. The boat actually has dual helm stations. The wheels are connected to each other, so you can't separate the wheels. So I spin this and the little wheel on the inside spins round at 1,000,000 RPM. We also have dual station controls on the throttle, so we can select gear and whatever inside, or if it's raining and completely horrific outside, we can go down inside and do it from there. We're very pleased actually when we bought the boat to find that the self-steering mechanism worked. I had to change the belt and do a few repairs on some of the fastenings that hold it to the wheel, and so we came up with a good solution for that, and yeah, it's ready to use. Also have a really nicely situated compass which does illuminate at night as well. Here is our gas locker. When we bought the boat, it was horrifically filthy and disgusting on the inside. Unfortunately, it's only big enough to admit camping gas bottles, and as everybody knows, camping gas is really expensive for the amount you get. So as you can see, we are actually using a 7 kilo Keel bottle at the moment for the winter, and when we go out we'll swap back over to the camping gas bottles. We did replace all of the gas plumbing inside the boat. On this side we have our engine controls, and then another hatch. What's under here? Well, this is where our diesel heater is. This we believe is original to the boat. We didn't think when we were looking at the boat that it would work. After a bit of prodding, replacement of a glow plug, and buying an insanely expensive knob for our control switch, we've got it working. It is a Eberspecher D3L, I believe, so vintage. It comes on, it turns off, it works perfectly, it produces a great amount of heat. We might as well show you our cockpit locker. I'm going to open it really quickly because there's a huge mess inside. So in here we have our new consumer unit, which we fitted after discovering the one that was fitted in the heads had been arcing for quite some time, possibly at risk of causing a electrical fire. One of the first things we did when we bought the boat was to completely rewire it and move the consumer unit out of the shower, because that's not really a good place for electricity. We've got a set of 2 Lumar self-tailing winches for our Genoa sheets. They work as expected. We have taken all of the winches apart and serviced them. Some of them were pretty stiff, especially this little guy here. And then we've got this lovely little cubby hole where we store our winch handle, and then when we're out we also put our drinks in there. So we've got a couple of flasks, and then you can put them in there and then they don't fly around. Hello! Doors! Ouch. Really hurt. Doors instead of washboards. Really happy with that. It's one of the things that actually sort of drew my attention. Nothing more annoying than every time you get in the boat, put all the washboards out, put all the washboards back in. We've got doors, we can open them. We've got a hatch, we can open that, and well, we do have a bit of a washboard, we can pull it out. And then we have really amazing access just to stroll into the boat, down a set of stairs, and we're inside. So moving on to the engine, we actually have some really handy access here. Take the top step out, take this board out, take the bottom step out, and then here we go, here's our engine. It is a Yanmar 2GM20 in really nice condition, runs really well. I have had to service some items, change the oil, replace the belts, and then we've also got a little bit of a electrical distribution panel in here. The house loads come through this little fuse block. When we bought the boat we were having slightly low voltage on some of our circuits. After tracing the wiring back we found this, and it was very seriously corroded. Surprised that any of those little angry pixies managed to make it through at all. Actually found in Force 4 a direct replacement for that little fuse box, which must be original to the boat from 1989, so it's amazing that you can still get the same parts. So swapped it like for like, replaced some of the wiring that had also corroded. That solved that little electrical gremlin. This is a lifting keel boat, so how does the keel lift? Answer is we have a great big hydraulic ram here that goes up to some lifting pennants which come through the top of the keel box and then go back down to the top of the keel. They go down into the keel box, and then the keel is this great big cast iron assembly with a big pin in one end, and it pivots up and down. So how do we get the ram to move? This is our hydraulic pumping mechanism. Got a great big handle, gives you leverage and make sure the tap's wound in. And if we start pumping on this and pump quite a lot, eventually the keel will lift into the fully raised position. Another thing, when we first bought the boat, that was all seized. It didn't move. We didn't know if we could get it to move. We did manage to free it up, and we have now managed to test the keel. We've gone sailing, we've tried out, keel up and down, and it's all working pretty well.
So coming inside the boat, you can see it's pretty bright and airy in here. So we have a pilot house, and that was a major attraction for us when we looked at this boat. It was one of the things that we really did want to have, partly just to stay dry if the weather's bad when we're out sailing, but also just because of the amount of natural light. It just completely transforms it in here. With a lot of sailing boats, you're really just sort of down in like a dark hole. And this, I think, especially in the winter, it's going to be really nice to be able to just sit up here and look around. So to port we have the galley, and it's actually a very generous size for the size of the boat. We have these twin sinks, which is really useful. We have pressurised water, and the water pump is actually really quiet compared to previous boats that we've had. Loads of storage. We have sort of our main food cupboard here. We have cleaning supplies and dishes and things. So up here we have all of our cups and glasses. Well, not all of them, some of them. And we have a lot of teas. Over here we have more teas. We have plates in the rack. And here is our icebox, which is not actually used as an icebox at the moment. It's just used more like a pantry. And then here is our oven. So it's a gas oven and hob. We believe it's original to the boat, and it works pretty well. The hobs tend to sputter a little bit, but it works. We've got a grill in here as well. Bit of a learning curve to get used to it. I've never had a gas oven before, but I'm starting to quite like it. Over here we have our spices. We also have an electric kettle and a blender, which only get used if we are plugged into shore power because they just draw too much power otherwise. We have lots of drawers here for cutlery and utensils and things like that. And down here we actually have a giant chopping board which is big enough to go over the sink, and that's very handy in terms of creating some extra workspace if we need it. Here is our fridge. It's just a cooler. It can run on either 12 volts or 240 volts, but we only ever run it on mains because it just draws too much power otherwise. Eventually it might be nice to get a built-in fridge, but for now this works. Here we have our dehumidifier, which we use to keep the boat nice and dry. Sometimes it can get quite damp in here if we're cooking and breathing and things like that, so it just stops any mould or anything like that. And then back here is our quarter berth. We have never slept in here. It is just used for storage at the moment. We have cockpit cushions, extra cushions for the bed in the saloon, backpacks, a hoover, just all the random things that we can't fit anywhere else. Down here we actually have a giant storage area, and our water pump is down there and the accumulator as well. And a lot of the time, like when we're out cruising, we store recycling and stuff down here. We also have more storage. If we move the doormat, there's a smaller space down here. And throughout the boat actually we've got a lot of storage under the floor, which is very useful for things like tools. So another one down here.
Oh yeah, we forgot to tidy up.
Yeah, let's cover that again. To starboard we have the heads, and it's actually a pretty decent size again for the size of the boat, and it's quite nice that it is just inside the companionway so that when we're at sea you don't have to walk through the whole boat to go to the loo. We did replace the toilet when we got the boat, and we went for a regular sized bowl, so that's quite nice, makes it extra comfortable. We have a sink, again with pressurised water, and this pulls out to turn into a shower. We very rarely use this because we don't have a water heater. We used it a couple times when we were out cruising, but yeah, it is a cold shower, so at some point we will probably get a new water heater, but it's not in the budget at the moment. So on this bulkhead here we can hang our coats and also our towels. And down here, you can't see it very well, but that is our bin, and it's actually our only bin because we couldn't find space for one in the galley. Up here we have loads of storage for all of our toiletries and things, and we also have storage down here under the sink and in this little cubby hole over here as well.
Here I am at the inside helm station. Here is our little diddy wheel. We have repaired this in an earlier video. The original mechanism had come apart, so we managed to find an original replacement part and swap the unit out. Here's our second throttle. Here we have our main distribution panel. Got all of our different circuits here. We have an original radar here. Recently got that running. Managed to tune it, and on our last trip to Ilfracombe we got a very clear picture of the local coastline. We have, as we mentioned earlier, removed all of the original instruments, the log and the depth transducer that came with the boat. So instead of having dedicated instruments, we've got a Garmin Echo Map here. We've installed a sonar, so that will give us our depth and also our GPS speed, and we can also connect this with Wi-Fi and get data on our phones and things as well. Our VHF, well, where is it? It's actually behind me. One of the big missions when we bought the boat, and it was winter and it was raining a lot, and lately it's also been raining a lot, is there were a few leaks. We had water coming in the front cabin from the hatch, we had water coming in at the base of the mast from various cable glands, and we had water coming in from both sides of the pilot house. We have, I think, fixed all of the leaks. One of the first things we did when we bought the boat and started looking into the wiring was replace the batteries. It took me a little while, actually, if I'm being honest, to find the batteries, and eventually we did find them under the floor just here. We put a couple of new leisure batteries in, so they were a really good price and they have served us really well. The boat didn't have a battery charger. Unless you're running the engine, there was no way of charging the batteries, so we bought ourselves a Victron smart charger, a 15 amp charger. You can connect to your phone with Bluetooth and see what the battery status is and the charging status is. We're pretty blessed in the inside helm position. We've got a chart table with integrated storage. We've got some storage up here, and then we've also got some handy shelves down here. When we bought the boat, there was a modification here somebody had done. They'd moved the shelves around and put in a bulkhead there to hide an additional battery. We've reversed everything and put it back how it would have been, only so that we've got somewhere to put our shoes. We've got this wonderful seat here, which is actually hiding a hanging locker. I've hung up all my shirts and hoodies and things in there at the moment, but it actually would be suitable as a wet hanging locker because it has a fiberglass sump. Also quite handily, the ducting for the diesel heater runs through the back of this, so if the diesel heater is running, it is also heated.
Coming down into the saloon, we have a nice big settee, and you can actually push this table down to form a double bed. And a lot of the time we do actually sleep in here because it is the only double bed on the boat. Especially when we're at anchor, it's a lot more comfortable to sleep here than it is in the front cabin. We have some extra seating over here as well. This one is a little bit shorter, so it's not really long enough to sleep on. We have an FM radio down here, although we don't use it very much. And we have all of our books. We haven't quite found places for all of them yet, so if you do have one of these boats and you have an idea for how to store all your books, please do let us know. Down here we have an outlet for the diesel heater. There are actually 3 outlets throughout the boat. This is the middle one. There's another one in the front cabin. There is also one by the chart table as well. So here is the front cabin, and it has this maybe slightly unusual layout with overlapping bunk beds. So this was a little bit of a compromise. We would have probably preferred a double bed, but this works okay. It does have some advantages. It means you both end up with plenty of foot space, and it also means that there's space down here for this hanging locker. So Nick has a lot of his stuff in the hanging locker under the chart table. I have a lot of mine in here. We have our laundry basket down here. Under here there's actually a little cubby hole where we keep bed sheets and things. And then over to this side we have this nice long shelf where we have a lot of our clothes. We have half of the shelf each, and we've just about managed to fit everything in there. When we do sleep in here, Nick likes to have the top bunk because then he gets to look out of the window, which he quite enjoys, and he insisted that we mention that in the video.
He did.